Take heart, my friend, we'll go together this uncertain road that lies ahead.
Welcome to Take Heart, where we're exploring current human experiences that display or call for biblical truth. I'm Ruben Martinez, your host. Today I have Jerry Miller with me. Jerry was born in Mexico City, and then when he was about 15, 16, you moved to the U.S.
Right.
You've been in business for over 50 years in various businesses. You've made a lot of money. You've lost a lot of money. You've lost a family. And at some point, you thought you had a really good relationship with God and that you understood Him. But in the past several years, things have changed for you.
Right.
And that's what I would like to hear from you. Tell me about those changes. Tell me your story.
Well, my relationship with God, I thought it was great. I mean, I had a lot of wrong beliefs about, the Bible and things. I thought, at one time I thought, that God had created the paradise and the earth was our paradise. To me, that was the way it was, that the birds, the beaches, the whole world is a beautiful creation. And the only one who could do that, it would have been God.
Yes.
And
there's a lot of truth to that because, creation is of God, but then we remember that there's been the curse. When Adam and Eve first fell, God cursed the earth. Well, now there's a lot of ugly things as well in the world. A lot of beautiful things and so forth, but yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I learned now that I'm really walking with God, because before I wasn't.
You felt like you were.
Yeah, I thought it was correct, and I even turned you down one time because I thought my relationship with God was great.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to my friends and talking to people that knew you, they told me you were a different kind of pastor. And I believe you are the truly pastor.
Well,
To me, you are.
Well, tell me what in particular did you hear that made you stop and think?
Well, I needed to get a grasp of my life again. I was just going through a divorce, and even though I thought I was walking with God and everything else, I was long way from it, and I thought my relation was great, but it wasn't. And I learned a lot of things in the last 6 years that I've been coming here to the church, and it's just so beautiful. They know that God is there with you all the time.
I remember you telling me that you figured, hey, if I do a little good here, a little good there, I help this person, hey, I'm good with God.
Yeah, and I always been the kind of guy, that try to help out. I'm not trying to get to anybody or do anything. I always, even in business, my competitors and everything, they appreciate me because I always help them. I never came out, not to do anything or give them the wrong advice or, tell them to do things that were not right. And that's why, I think they have the respect for my competitors and business people that I do business with.
Do you remember a specific again? What was it that got you to reconsider? Because initially, you're right. You completely said, "Look, man, I don't need. I got this." But then something changed.
Well, I seen the change on my friends, and one of them, is a man of God, and unshakable. He had a problem with one of his sons, and I told him, I said, your son is your son. You gotta accept him as it is, and all this stuff. And just because the Bible told him not to, he stuck to his beliefs, and that made me thought about it, more and more. And the problems I was going through and everything else,
You mean he himself reconsidered what he was doing? Is that what you're saying? As
No, he stuck to the reality of the Bible. I mean, he says he didn't accept it. He didn't accept his son because the Bible told him that what his son was doing was bad. It was wrong. And man, you got to be a strong believer if you're gonna believe that you don't want to accept your son in this condition. And now he's relaxed a little bit more, but still, he's strong in his faith. And you see things that your faith makes you do that you don't believe you can go through it. But the backing of the faith. If you don't have faith, I mean, you don't want to believe in God.
So that's what you're saying, that this friend of yours, you saw his faith applying it in relation to his son, and that encouraged you to also follow.
Believe more, follow I needed some guidance. I was just going through the divorce. Everything was going backwards on me and everything else. And I needed, I always thought that, having faith, it helped you keep straight, your life straight. Not that it was, I was straight all the time. I mean, I had a fault. That's why my divorce came through. And then, another thing too that helped me a lot was I was coming to church, and I was here probably a year, and I couldn't still believe that my sins were redeemed. And that was the hardest thing I could go, They told me, said, well, you God died on the cross, your sins have been redeemed, and and you got to feel different. And I wasn't. I was just having a hard time believing on that.
That he actually paid for all of your sins.
Right. And it's hard to feel forgiven. And the only thing... The same man's son was the one, we were here working at the church doing something, and we needed to go get some tacos. And we just went down to the corner, and he explained to me why my sins were forgiven.
Why your sins were forgiven.
And one sin that I could understand. Because, people, my pastor, everybody will tell me my sins were forgiven. But, I didn't want to believe my sins were forgiven until I talked to this young man. And then I really thought, hey, he's right, God died for me. So at that moment, I felt relief, for my sins. And it's still hard for me to believe that I've been relieved, but I am relieved for my sins. And I don't care when my sons think or my daughters thinks, if God forgiven me, everybody should, and I'm doing it right. I'm not doing it, looking for forgiveness. God had forgiven me. I don't care about anybody else.
It is, as you say that, it comes to my mind that experiencing forgiveness, it's an ongoing process. One moment we can feel that profound forgiveness, but then as life goes on, either we get reminded of our sins or some guilt is still there and it surfaces, and so we have to go back again, and yes, I need to remember that I am forgiven. And so it is a process to actually experience that forgiveness on an ongoing basis, because we're going to go back and forth. And that's what I'm hearing you experience.
Yeah. Another experience, Pastor, that I have is I had a hard time believing that paradise wasn't here on earth. So all I can imagine is what paradise is going to look like. And to me, every day that I wake up, you see the palm trees, you see the birds, you see birds with different colors and a little stripe, a little thing. They said, God can only do that.
Right.
So if this is not paradise, imagine what paradise is.
Yes.
So you got to have faith that, hey, I'm going to get to paradise.
That's it.
And if it's, this great, how is it going to be?
Yeah, I think I talk about at times tastes of heaven, or tastes of God, tastes of paradise. This is not heaven, but we can have little tastes of it. And those tastes come in many different ways, whether it's the human sexual experiences, looking at a bird, beautiful bird, feeling the wind in one's face, and we appreciate creation. Those just are little tastes of what's coming.
And once you get older and everything else, you start thinking, that the end is near.
Mm.
And you're afraid to experience new things, I wish I can go on trips more longer and, than I do because, in business, you don't want to leave your business alone too long.
Right.
And the business I was in, is very jealous, if you get a lot of things missing, if you're not there. So my vacation's always been like 2-3 days. I wish, that I would experience, going on a trip 10 days, 15 days, 20 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still want to do that, and I haven't got into it. It's one thing that I had told my pastor, Ruben, that I want to be less materialized, less care about money less, a little bit less, or not to have and have. But,
Because you have found out that money doesn't buy happiness. I mean, the
no,
old saying,
and
the old song.
and like you said the other day, if you did a little while ago in your conversation, you mentioned, if you do a little thing here and you do a little thing there, that's going to get you to creation or to be
To heaven, to be
a
saved.
heaven and stuff like that. And I came to realize that it really doesn't. I mean, I do a lot of things, like, I don't know, when I first came to the church, I wanted to do something for the church, and I decided to wash the walls. And I thought, that was going to give me a little key to the gate. And it's not that. It's your way of living, not what you do. It's what you need to live by.
Yes. And we live by the fact that we've been forgiven. Right?
Yeah. I learned to be forgiven, but it's still a hard thing for me.
Oh, it's a process.
And,
It's not an overnight thing.
And I know I've been forgiven and everything else, but, once in a while, you gotta say, hey, he died for me, and I've been forgiven, get over it.
Now, Jerry, you have been remarried as well.
Yes, sir.
And it's been rocky at times, but there's also some changes that are occurring there. Tell me about those.
Well, it's real hard. I have in other words, you could say 2 families. And it's hard for me to give up. I don't want to give up my son.
Right.
I lost my first marriage because of my son,
Because your son was from another woman.
Right. And if God gave me that son, I'm going to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to, your kids are there forever.
Mm-hmm.
From the day they're born until the day you die, or
That's
the day
it.
they die. And it's...
And they keep on existing after we stop breathing.
and they're still having problems, they're still having everything. And, that hurts me the most is my 2 kids from my first marriage. I was married 44 years, brother. And they didn't find out about my son until I was, he was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I never missed a day of sleep in my house.
Mm-hmm.
I never slept out of my house. I never, they never needed anything they didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having some heart problems. And I had told my brothers ones the ones that only they knew. And
Mm-hmm. About you having this other son.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And that I was, I had provided for him, in case I passed away or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's got his son. He didn't have to argue with his brothers or sister about anything. He will have his own deal. And my brothers knew, and I had a little testament, that if this happens, I already had this for him, and this is his. And the thing, I don't know if you want to thank God, but I think God put it so in my way that I was able to when you leave something, in life instead of when you pass.
Mm-hmm.
I'd give my kids their
Inheritance.
inheritance long before,
Mm-hmm.
after, even before I was, get divorced, they already had the inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wanted to get started on life. But none of them are married. I mean, my son is 45 or 46 years old, and he's not married. My daughter's 43 or something, and she's not married. And I want them to get started, but God, decided, that's the way to go. I'm okay.
So all this surfaced when you had a heart issue?
Yes, I did have a heart issue. I used to exercise very well, every
Mhm.
day and everything else. And one day, I guess going to the bank isn't want to give me the heart issue. I walk up the stairs to go see a bank officer. And when I got up the end of the stairs, my heart was hurting.
Mm.
So I went to the doctors, and they told me they had a prior heart attack, 20, 30 years ago.
Mm.
So they were going to do some studies, and here in the States, it takes forever to get a study. They recommend one doctor, then
Right,
another one,
right.
and then they got to do this. So in the time being, that they were going through the studies, my sister decided to tell my wife about the son.
Oh,
And
boy.
that's when the whole thing exploded.
Mm.
Uh,
And then your family obviously felt betrayed.
right,
And not just your wife, but your son and daughter felt betrayed.
right,
And to me, that just brings up the whole teachings from the Bible that God says, don't commit adultery. Why? Because it's going to create so many problems. Now, God is a genius at bringing something good out of bad,
yeah,
right? And so now you have this son that you care a lot about,
right.
and you want to do as best you can. But God has brought something, and you're still working through that, that's helping you grow in your faith.
Uh, it's,
Because you've told me you're obviously you lost your wife and your family, but then through all this you've been growing also in your relationship with your present wife.
right. And more than anything else, my present wife, uh, she knew about everything,
Mhm.
about the kid, about the mother of the kid.
You didn't hold
But,
anything from her.
the thing is that I provide to them, and she gets upset when I mention the mother of my kid.
Right.
And that's what created, the friction between me and her is more than anything else is, because another woman. And I've been trying to learn, that she's supposed to be number one and not the mother of my son.
And so that's another change that has occurred with you. That initially
Yeah.
the mother of the boy was number one, but wait a minute, your wife needs to be number one.
Right.
And that's been a hard transition for you.
Right. And we had tried to work with the issues, but, it's still there.
Mhm.
And it's something that we just got to keep on working. We've been married now, in November is going to be 5 years, Pastor. And we're still together. We don't fight as much anymore as we did at the beginning.
Okay, so you had this perspective and things changed for you that you realized that your present wife needed to be number one. And my question was, what helped you change from that to now she's number one, your present wife?
Mainly all the brothers in the church, and even my pastor will say that, that I was wrong. And I didn't believe in being wrong, I thought I was right. But, keeping up with, I've been here 3 years with the same thing, they're telling me that she's number one. The other family, the other wife and the first family are already gone. That's on my past.
Right.
And then that I need to realize that she's number one. I mean, she's my wife.
So to me, that at your age, you're willing to change. To me, that's the work of God. That's the work of God, because usually the older we get, the more ossified we become, the more, we become stones.
Yeah.
And so to be able to change, man, that's the work of God. And right now, I would guess that your wife is feeling a lot better about how you treat her.
Right, and now she's even doing things for my son.
Mm.
This past week, she
Wow.
went home because she's from Monterey. She went home to Monterey, and we needed to get a jacket for Guillermo because the cold weather, and she went out and bought the jacket.
Wow.
She
Wow.
delivered.
Mm. Mm.
I didn't get to go because I had a bad experience, like 3 weeks ago, and I decided to stay home. But she went and got the jacket. She went met with the mother of my son. She gave him the jacket. She gave him everything that I sent, and she's like a mother hen now to my son.
Isn't that
And
amazing?
that's amazing. And that's only the work through the church that I had learned that she's number one and that I gotta take care of her.
Mm.
And in my age, well, Pastor, you know me probably 10 years now, and man, I'm 69 years old, and you don't think you cannot change at 69, and that you're already done. You're wrong. I had changed a lot, and I still have a long ways. I'm not feeling like I'm not even 40% there yet. To be 100% Christian is tough. I mean, I got some friends that are examples. The one I told you that he didn't want to realize,
Right.
his son. I mean, I would never do that.
And you see him changing.
And he's still changing, and
Yes.
he's 73 or 74 years old.
Yes. So I'm hearing, the big change, it's the work of God, but God has been working through his people. Through his people that he just didn't zap you and change you on the spot. It was God's people speaking truth to you. Speaking truth and loving you at the same time.
Right.
Not just condemning you.
I'm a hard-headed guy.
Oh.
Pastor, you know me for a long time now. No, it's not a long time. 10 years is not a long time because, we've been on this earth a lot longer than that.
Yes.
But, one thing that I had tried to do and I can't do it, we grew up in Veracruz, Mexico, and the word over there, every 3 words is cussing words. And that's one of the hardest things on me. I still once in a while, I used to be like that. 3 out of 5 words were cussing words or bad words. And I cut myself every little while. A long time ago, you told me that my speech or my form of talking was hurting a lot of people. He says, Jerry, you told me, he says, think of me as a brand new Cadillac. And then you go out there and say a bad word or cuss in front of me and things like that. And you just put a little scratch on my car. And that has stuck with me through the last 6-7 years.
It is amazing that what comes out of our mouth will either injure or help nourish somebody. And that's one thing that people, don't understand. There's power to foul language, the F word or whatever word. There's power, and that's why people use it. But that power is like poison. It's corrupting. And sometimes people use those foul language and they're corrupt others, but they're also corrupting themselves. And so, but people don't understand that. And it's not about condemning anyone because we're all sinners. We all fail. I mean, how can I? But to still be able to speak truth into someone to help them become whole and healthy and able to nourish others instead of just hurting others.
Yeah.
And so that's what I hear in you, that you've come to realize, well, this foul language, yeah, sometimes it's funny, it's powerful at times, but it's poison.
Well, another thing that I realize, I like to speak the truth. I always come up with some kind of how you say when it's very drastic. It's just to make a
Dramatic.
comment. Dramatic. I like to. Sometimes I say things that dramatics people. Like I believe that you should be thankful to God for everything that happens to you. Instead of asking God for, God, I want to have that new car. Help me out. I wanted that car. I want to do this. You shouldn't do that. I mean, God is there to help you and protect you and everything, but He's not there to give you what you want.
He's not a slot machine.
Right. And a lot of people, they're praying for things that, they shouldn't be. And I'm the
Yeah.
guy that comes out and say, hey, you're wrong about that.
Right.
And I get in trouble for that.
Well, yeah. God is constantly wanting to have a relationship with us. And when we concentrate on things, well, it's like if our children constantly ask us for things but never care for our hearts or where we're at. Well, the relationship is just not there because they're only asking us for things, not really wanting to know us and care for us and know how much we care for them. You see, and that's the same thing with God. If we just ask Him for things, and we don't even have a relationship with Him, it's like, no.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting at it. And a lot of things, nowadays we go in a lot of psychological things.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, some of those things are, like I said, I never experienced anxiety. I never been afraid, this or that, but anxiety, I needed to do this because if I don't, I'm going to go crazy. And, or depression. Depression hurts me a lot. When people are depressed, we had a problem here at the church. One of our friends committed suicide. And I was very upset because he committed suicide.
Yes.
That man, to me, he was a good Christian. He was a man of the Bible. He will know. He will argue with you about anything on the Bible. I mean, he will talk to you about it.
Right.
And he will say, and how can we get it to be so bad that we didn't get to notice them? Or,
Right.
And I brought that up. I said, man, let's not be
Cowards.
don't be cowards. Let's, be able to come and talk to that person and tell them, hey,
Right. Where are you? What's happening?
This
Yes.
and that, and be more specific, to those things.
Yeah, and that means that we need to be caring enough to risk entering into someone else's life because it is a risk because they might just get angry and cuss you out.
Yeah,
but
and
we
that's,
have to take those risks and loving them and caring for them. And Jerry, I think that's what you have been such an encouragement to me.
Thank you, Pastor.
Because when I see someone struggling but wanting the truth, and you have done that. You've struggled, but you want the truth. And there's been changes in you that I've seen, and it's just very, very encouraging to me. Because that's what I'm about. I'm about helping people grow and change. It's not just about let's make this ministry successful in terms of numbers and so forth. No, it's maybe one person at a time, whoever's in front of me. And I've seen you grow, and you need to know that you have enriched my life.
I appreciate it. I know that I've been in trouble because of it. And I'm very conservative about, being what I feel to be said. I might be wrong.
Are you saying, am I understanding you're saying that now you're more careful about what you need to say than before? Before you would just blurt out whatever, and now you're saying, wait a minute, I need to be more careful.
If I believe in something, I was going to fight you to the death.
Right.
Same problem was, with my wife and the mother of my son. I always believed that, I had to take care of them. No matter what. Even more than I was putting my son before my wife. And, and I would get mad at her because she would say, well, you're living a double life. And I said, man, if I was hiding something, I could say I was living a double life.
Right.
But I'm not hiding it to nobody.
Right.
Because I'm just this proud of my son, and I'm proud of my wife.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, you got to put the perspective
Yes.
that, and it took me a long time. Like I said, I'm very stubborn. And, and I didn't believe in that. And that's why I was fighting the church.
And that's why, I'm hoping that people that watch this podcast with you in it, especially those that are, maybe 50, 60 years, to say, if this man could change, if God could change this man, then I can change. I can receive instruction. I can receive truth. And that's what I'm hoping to see, because, again, it's very evident that God has been working with you through the church, through brothers, through sisters that have spoken truth to you, and it's been hard, but nonetheless, that's how God has worked.
I believe that you're going to keep on changing and learning until the day you die, Pastor.
Amen. Oh, absolutely.
To me, I can say, well, 69 years old, I should give up, doing this, doing that. But, I guess the day you quit believing in God and quit believing that you can change, or you're going to learn something every day, is the day you're going to die. You just don't going to have no perspective of life.
That's it.
Another thing, too, is every morning when I wake up, I give thanks to God. Because He's had given me one more day as I walk out to feed the dogs, because that's my new job, feed the dogs. I admire everything that's outside. And I give thanks to God while I'm feeding the dogs.
Isn't that amazing, Jerry, that the simple things can somehow encourage us, give us nourishment for our hearts when we have that perspective? It doesn't take millions and millions of dollars, thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars to something that can excite us and we appreciate. Simple things. Birds, the wind, the lake, a tree blowing on the wind.
I'm glad you brought in this up. I haven't been. I was a big fisherman. I mean, I did tournaments, everything. I won tournaments. I won a lot of money fishing and stuff like that. And I haven't been fishing in the last 10 years. And a couple of brothers here at the church that took me fishing. I'm having a lot of problem balancing out and everything else. But just to be out there in the canal or wherever,
The bay.
The bay. And I took a picture of the sun coming up. And, man, that made me realize that we're still alive, we're still here, and we're still learning. But you need to enjoy every minute of it. Because God had created this world for us to enjoy it.
Yep.
And one of the things at the beginning, when I was thinking, about being on paradise, the earth was, to us the paradise. They had God given us. He built it for us, and you and I discussed this a long time. And being here in paradise, I always thought, my train of thought was that you make it your own hell, or you can make it your own happiness. And all depends on how you live your life. Whether you create hell, or you're going to create happiness and joy.
And of course, and there's some truth to that. There's some truth to that. It's not all wrong. But there's something bigger than this earth. Something greater than this life.
With our Creator.
That's God and what He has for us in heaven. This is not the only life. This is just the beginning, really. But when we lose perspective of that, then all we focus is here. This is it. This is heaven or hell, because that's all there is. No. And so that's something that we can raise our eyes and expand our horizon. Life is much more than just this earth. And this earth is a microcosm, a small picture of the heaven that's coming when we follow God. When we don't, and things go, it's a hell on earth, it's a taste of hell that's coming as well. So again, all of it we can be using to grow and gain perspective, gain wisdom.
Yeah, I remember when you made me realize that paradise wasn't here on earth. To me, it broke my heart. Because I really thought, that the only way that you see the creation, it was just to look at the world.
Yes.
And
And once again, there's truth to that. There are only tastes
yeah,
of what's coming.
we talked about
This is not the ultimate. So many times that's what we have to do. Break our current perspective to gain a greater, better perspective.
Yeah. I'm beginning to learn about all that stuff. Like I said, I'm very stubborn, and you know that. And to me, imagine believing in creating the Garden
Of Eden.
Eden, stuff like that, and you realize that God closed it for us. So I had changed my perspective of finding Adam. But it's been a great experience being here at the church, because really and truly I found a lot of people that care for you, and at the same time you learn to love them. I mean, there's people here that man, I give my right hand for them.
Isn't that rich? Where you
To
can
me-
have those relationships that before you didn't even know them, but now there's this wonderful love and care for others that just makes us actually richer in ourselves as we love others.
And the thing is, you learn not to judge them anymore. I mean, I used to be, once I see a guy, I knew he was good or bad, or he was going to be, something other. And now, I judge him differently. I see him as a brother, or somebody who's going to need help, or something different. But I see a perspective of people different than what I used to.
Well, Jerry, I really want to thank you for being here at Take Heart, and I look forward to what else God is going to do with you. The richness that's coming ahead, and I'm talking about the richness of your soul, enlarging your soul, and being able to enrich others, to give to others. And we're not talking about money. We're talking about our being.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
again.
me. And I just want to become a better Christian. Like I said, age doesn't limit you to learning. I figured, it's a saying that, every day you learn something new.
Yes.
And I hope,
God is not limited.
right. I hope like I said, my belief in God is there. I wish I could be, I'm thinking about like 40 or 50% there, and I still have a long ways to go. So I just want to say that age don't have nothing to do with it.
It's the work of God.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with it.
Right.
Well, thank you again, Jerry.
Thank you very much for having me.
Take
You
heart,
bet.
my friend. We'll go together this uncertain road that lies ahead. Our faithful God.